Develop your body paragraphs in any essay using material from sources in those paragraphs to support your ideas. The sources might include primary or secondary sources, such as examples from literary works, nonfiction books, articles from scholarly journals, newspapers, or magazines, films, visual arts, interviews, or other sources of information. Supporting your ideas with material from sources shows that you are aware of the work that others have done, that you find that work supportive of your own ideas, or that you want to present the work of others and then argue against it. Body paragraphs in an essay are best developed using the PI method, making a point, which is your own idea, supporting it with illustrations, and finally explaining how those illustrations do support your point. Besides, using food metaphors to describe our hard work of writing makes it seem more delicious. Here's more of an explanation of what the PI method involves. Our point, our own idea about the topic, is given in the topic sentence of the paragraph. The topic sentence should state in one sentence the topic of the paragraph and your idea about the topic. For example, a topic sentence about the topic of writing body paragraphs could be, "Writing body paragraphs for an essay can be fun when we think creatively about our work." Illustrations are examples and other material from sources that support our point in the topic sentence. If the assignment allows the use of personal experience, an illustration could be a short anecdote from personal experience. Material from outside sources will include brief quotations, direct or paraphrased, or short summaries of literary works, nonfiction books, articles from scholarly journals, newspapers or magazines, films, visual arts, interviews, or other sources of information. Generally, 3 to 5 sentences of illustration will be used to develop the idea expressed in the topic sentence. The explanation will be 1 or more sentences that explain how the illustrations do support the point made. If illustrations are given that you disagree with, you will distinguish your idea from the way the topic is developed in that illustration. The explanation may be given after each separate illustration or at the end of the body paragraph. We've added another food metaphor to keep our writing work delicious. The sandwich method gives us a way to develop each illustration from a source that we use as support. Like any sandwich, we will have a top slice, a filling, and a bottom slice. You can choose the type of bread you use and the foods you'll put in the middle of the sandwich. The top slice of bread in the sandwich method introduces your source. You will want to identify the author and title of your source and give the credentials of the author to show that your reader should pay attention to this illustration. For example, in a story in Capirotada, a Nogales memoir, Alberto Alvaro Rios, a native of Nogales, Arizona, who teaches at Arizona State University, points out the experience of Spanish-speaking children dealing with authority figures who did not speak Spanish. The sandwich filling might be a direct quotation from the source, a paraphrase or indirect quotation, or a summary of material from the source. For example, the filling for the introduction given above is, "When we had to go to confession, we waited and we went straight for one of the Irish priests, so that we could give our confessions in Spanish, which of course they didn't understand. We had this confession thing pegged, we thought, but they thought they had this thing pegged too. They had something like a stopwatch method. How long did you talk? That's how bad you were." We'll deal with citation of sources later, but there will need to be what MLA calls an in-text citation immediately after the quotation, paraphrase, or summary. In this case, it would be in parentheses, Rios 23. Finally, the bottom slice will explain how this source contributes to your point or relates to other illustrations you are using in this paragraph. Rios' anecdote contrasts with a remark Sandra Cisneros makes in her published lecture, Ghosts and Voices. It's important to remember that there are a number of ways to synthesize the material from several sources into one paragraph of your own writing. You want to use 2 to 3 sources in one paragraph to prevent your essay from seeming like a cut and paste job where subsequent paragraphs each present material from a different source. By using 2 to 3 sources to illustrate your point in one paragraph, you let your sources talk to each other. Do they agree? Disagree? Do they deal with the topic in somewhat different ways? It's important to use transitions to explain the relationship between the sources used. For example, in the last slide, we saw a bottom slice for the Rios illustration. Rios' anecdote contrasts with a remark Sandra Cisneros makes in her published lecture, Ghosts and Voices. Contrasts serves as a transition to the following illustration, which will come from the Cisneros lecture. There are lots of transition words and phrases. On the other hand, at the same time, however, and so on. It's important to use transitions effectively to help your reader understand the points you're making. Material from sources does not belong in an introduction. Your introduction is just that. It lets your reader know what you will be writing about, gets the reader hooked on your topic, and presents your thesis statement, the topic and your idea for the entire essay. The sources will be the support in the body of your essay. Furthermore, the conclusion should wrap up the essay and not introduce new details. Therefore, you will not use material from your sources in your conclusion. The reminder about in-text citations is important. As you draft your body paragraphs, be sure to put in at least a draft in-text citation every time you use a direct quote, a paraphrase, or a summary of a source. Use the author's name and page number. You can correctly format the in-text citation using the MLA format requirements as set out on the Purdue OWL MLA Guidelines site as you are editing your essay. And remember, keep calm and write your essay. Yes, it's an academic assignment, but it should be a creative opportunity and a lot of fun.